When I decided to enroll at Full Sail University, I thought that I would be able to increase my students' motivation by simply using technology. But I soon realized that the types of technology my students were aware of were not necessarily the types that promoted learning a foreign language. Students are well aware of technology in the form of cell phones, texting, music downloads, and just playing around on the internet. I learned that I would need to introduce them to the educational tools available to them and help them realize that using these tools will offer them a totally new way of gaining foreign language skills. This would be a completely different way of learning for them, and I must admit a totally new way of teaching for me. This made me excited and very enthusiastic, and I was anxious to initiate my Action Research project. The purpose of my Action Research is to increase my students' motivation to learn the Spanish language by making the connections through the Hispanic culture and through the use of web quests. I began by asking myself, I wonder how my students would respond if they became more knowledgeable of the Hispanic culture by discovering the information on their own through the web quest process. This project was conducted at Amherst Hill High School, grades 9 through 12. The literature review, along with my Action Research project, demonstrated that by providing a structured, hands-on, and technology-rich classroom activity for unmotivated students learning Spanish will produce positive results such as self-motivation and improved technological skills. The additional effects of the web quest activities were to develop and support a student's thinking at the levels of analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. During Cycle 1, I designed 4 web quests to learn about Peru, Costa Rica, Spanish music, and Puerto Rico. I then published this web quest online using a Web 2.0 tool. These web quests enhance students' personal beliefs, sustain student engagement, and promote students' deep understanding and critical thinking. Most of the time, students discuss their findings together in the classroom. Students completed one task at a time. Directions were given before starting their activities. Each web quest took between 1 and 2 weeks to complete. This is what my student expressed.
Fantastic. Musica.com.
Musica.com me gusta mucho.
And seeing it on the computer helps you remember it more.
Using the internet to learn Spanish makes everything a lot easier.
And teach us about Hispanic culture houses such as in Peru or even Panama or Puerto Rico. So it actually applies to a lot of things that we've been learning about culturally and in the book, and it all ties together.
In addition to students' interviews, my students completed reflection comments. Within these comments, I gained ideas for making improvement for Cycle 2. For example, I learned that some students are comfortable working online and completing the web quest multiple steps. Other students struggled through the process because they were not familiar with the WebQuest approach. From my critical friends, I learned that I was not giving enough time to students for them to complete each WebQuest. For Cycle 2, I decided to read more peer-reviewed articles and find a common denominator that could help me to better present this tool to my students. I learned more about the 6 critical attributes. For Cycle 2, I had 60 new students participating. Based on the data collected in Cycle 1, I made sure that students understood the WebQuest process by showing a keynote presentation explaining how to proceed. Additionally, I arranged for students to have more time at the computer lab for working, as requested in Cycle 1. By doing this, I was participating to increase participation and motivation among my 60 new Spanish 1 students. At the computer lab, students read the introduction to the WebQuest and research their first website. They worked individually first, so they could explore and get familiar with the WebQuest. Later, students worked in small groups. They were sharing information about Puerto Rico. Most students seemed to have a lot to share with their classmates. I was observing and staying available to students who have questions and concerns. Most of the questions were related to the WebQuest design and to what might be good to add into their document. The tasks were to complete a brochure, a concept map, and a reflective essay. This task gave students opportunity for collaboration and discussion among group members.
Puerto Rico brochure has really helped because we've been able to use different computers, one for looking up research and another for putting together the whole brochure, and another to just use for either looking at pictures or something along those lines. We've used WebQuest, and it's been very helpful since we've been able to find sites easily.
I like the WebQuest because it forced me to actually find it for myself.
And I believe that to know the language perfectly, you have to know the culture as well. When you're in a classroom, the best way to do it is by introducing culture in some other way, either that be through books or through pictures or through the internet. And with the internet, you can use WebQuest. WebQuest is appropriate because it leads to a new broadened horizon of views.
Marta's been working on her WebQuest this semester, and it has been very helpful for everyone else in the department because she's been able to explain to us how to create them and how to apply them in our classrooms, which has been very helpful for us because we just got classroom sets of iPads, so that has really provided us with an activity to use them for. She knows the ins and outs of how to make them, and I look forward to learning more from her.
I know I have proved to myself that using WebQuest will show students a new way of gaining foreign language skills. This is a completely different way of learning for them, and a totally committed way of teaching for me. I am excited and very anxious to continue my action research project throughout my career.